Okay, guys, welcome. Doing open tabs on a Tuesday this week instead of our regular Wednesday, but we have a lot of fun, juicy things to get into this week. Okay, so first thing I wanted to talk about with you guys, I included it in our Monday cultural gems, but I thought it deserved a larger conversation. So TikTok's most followed creator, Khaby Lame, just sold a stake of his brand, his TikTok brand, for $975 million. So almost $1 billion. And he sold it to a holding company who basically, just wants to monetize his brand across the world and sell product in the beauty, fragrance, and apparel space. So in this deal, it's interesting. They obviously didn't disclose how much cash he actually got from this, but they did say a lot of it was in stocks. So he's not a billionaire. Yeah, we'll see, I guess. And within this deal, he also is giving this holding company permission to develop an AI-powered digital twin of his likeness, voice, and gestures to produce multilingual content at scale. So far, they just closed this deal last week, but Rich Sparkle Holdings, which is the company that bought his likeness, is projecting that this deal could generate $4 billion in sales annually. So yeah, they'll be able to use his TikTok shop, his live stream, and his AI twin to sell products. So what I think is really interesting about this is is this the new move for mega creators? As the business of being a content creator, I think this is a very interesting move on his part.
Yeah, it's interesting. He's quite literally selling out in terms of letting people have access to his audience. And I think this makes sense for him specifically because he's a creator who has always somewhat been a bit of an aggregator, where he's always kind of brought the best of the internet to his audience, and what he kind of adds is that reaction layer. So I think this makes a lot of sense from a business perspective in terms of buying access to his likeness. I think that's such a huge amount of money. I don't know if I would value it quite that high personally, especially for such an experimental space, but it's very interesting. I also am not sure if creators who put more of themselves and their personalities into their work would want to sell out so overtly. Like Jake Paul, we talked about, sold out in a similar way last year. And then everyone started using his likeness to just straight up bully him, put him in situations that he wouldn't like and were ridiculous and make fun of him. And so I think on the one hand, it's yeah, this is a great way to make a lot of money, but then there are also brand costs associated with that because then you no longer have control over how your brand is perceived as much as you did before.
Totally. I mean, I agree. And I feel like when your brand is built around a person, it's just that much more complicated, right? As opposed to building a brand alongside your, public personal self. I just even the story is just I feel like it's still just totally not fully clear to me too. I'm will Rich Sparkle Holdings have control over his accounts then, his TikTok? Or is it they can use him and create content with him elsewhere?
Yeah, just a second. They have his likeness. And so they can use him probably not from his account. I'm sure they'll be doing stuff on his account, but from what I understand, they can sell his likeness to a brand, a perfume brand who wants to sell something.
And does he have sign off? Does he have or did he relinquish?
So he is, since he did get stock as like part of this deal, he is like a majority shareholder. So like I'm sure he will have like some control,
Yeah.
but I wonder like how much of that control like he'll want to exercise. Cause like Megan was saying, I mean, he's kind of like the perfect creator to do this. For those who aren't familiar with Khaby Lame's content, like he got started on TikTok because he got fired from his job. So he had like a bunch of free time. And he started doing like reactions to super viral videos on the
Right.
platform. And most of them, he wasn't even saying something. It was like the viral video and then a clip of him making a funny face. Um, since then, and like since he's grown to 160 million followers on TikTok, it's he's expanded that. So like now he'll do like skits and it's like more thoughtful and more elaborate. It's still like kind of low effort. But he is like kind of like a blank canvas. So when I'm thinking like the weird things with like Jake Paul's digital twin, like when he sold his likeness to, I
Different. It's like a different kind of creator. Yeah.
yeah, he's like he makes these funny reaction videos, but like we don't know who he is, and like he
Yeah.
doesn't talk a lot in his videos, so but he is a recognizable face on the platform. Um, so it'll be interesting to see like how they're able to take this massive creator who like doesn't have a super defined personality and like get him to convince people to buy like beauty fragrance of like all things.
And I think that's the part where I'm like, I don't know if it was quite if I believe the 4 billion in sales, because getting people to see something is one thing, getting them to buy something is another.
A
And I
hundred
don't
percent.
I don't
Yeah.
see this as like a lifestyle influencer. And even like I feel like if a lifestyle influencer were to enter a similar deal to this, it would immediately like undermine all of their reputability in terms of being able to give recommendations, because you would immediately be like, well, how do I know you're not just paid to tell me this because you're working
Right.
with this brand? How do I know this isn't AI? So I think there's interesting things here in terms of the technology when it comes to content creation at scale, but I'm not as convinced in as it I'm not as convinced that it could be a tool to sell.
I think that would be interesting to like look into and better understand too, like just the art of the sell when it comes to creators broadly. Like I'm just curious, like what like genre of creator is most successful at selling?
Mhm.
How do they sell and like what do they do? I actually suspect like I feel like our brains just go straight to like lifestyle content because that's just like it's just so inherent cause and effect for like that type of content. But like I don't know. I feel like it's like the creators that do like digital products somehow, like courses or something that maybe would surprise us. I don't know. I'm like now I'm interested in finding this out.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's interesting and a little more on the deal. It's only for 36 months. So he didn't sell
Yeah.
it forever. But they will have he is a controlling stakeholder, but like they will have like full reign to monetize his digital presence. So like they will be doing his live streaming of short form video strategy and like really turn him into like a full scale commercial platform for the next 36 months. It's interesting. Like I was scrolling through his recent posts. He also, this is another thing that's interesting. He doesn't post like a ton. When you look at other TikTokers who are like posting like 2 to 3 videos a day, he'll do like 2 to 3 videos a week, which is interesting. I bet that will increase. um, but I was curious to see like what the sentiment would be in his comments. And people were like, is this real? Like, is this your AI twin? Like,
Yeah.
is this
Not
really
good.
you? Yeah. I think people are so sensitive to like AI and I also like one of the questions I have is like, will they be labeling the content of like something in the corner that's like, this is an AI twin, or will it be presented like it's actually him? But yeah, I just thought this was like really exciting. And I mean, it's only been a week, but it'll be really interesting to see like if other creators start wading into this and like selling their likenesses. I feel like that's a really, really hard decision to make. Like, I don't know. Do you guys have thoughts? Like, do you think it like it's like too big of a risk of like it eroding audience trust?
I think so, personally.
Yeah.
I think it's just too big of a step, like, in that direction, and I was also thinking, who else would I want or would I suggest that they go down this route?
Mhm.
And I was like, maybe like Jenna Marbles, because it's like she clearly does not wanna be making content anymore, but there's so much love and there's appetite for content made by her, so she might be someone who this might be kind of an in-between where she wouldn't have to be so public facing, but there could be new Jenna Marbles content out there. But then I'm like, I just don't know if it would hit the same because so much of that is people love Jenna Marbles and they want updates
Mhm.
on her. Would they kind of want the AI version, the cartoonified version of her? I'm not sure.
You know what I was gonna say? Interesting. I think, well, one, I wanna see how this plays out. So, Emma, like, Megan, if you guys see any of his, like, this
Mm.
AI content surface, let's watch and see, like, how it's, like, utilized. But I actually think, where my brain jumped was to, more of, like, the anonymous creators that we've talked about, which is, like, obviously, like, this interesting ongoing conversation topic that we have. Like, we have a couple empty deco pieces about anonymous creators, and, like, I think of, like, things I bought and liked, like, we don't know who she is, what her likeness is, but she like, all of her content pretty much, like, is just things she bought and liked and is recommending. So, I feel like it could be interesting to, like, use like, I feel like I could see her in this scenario, and it would still have to be, like I think going back to your point, Megan, like, the things that are chosen still have to have had her stamp of approval, like, a real stamp of approval, but she has like, her whole account, like, her Instagram, I don't know how many times she's posted, like, there's so much there that you could just start using, you know what I mean? If she had, like, an AI kind of version of who she is, um,
Yeah.
like, that seems interesting, and what is also further interesting about her specifically is that, like, her account is set up for, like, things I bought and liked, right? And it, like, literally points to purchase.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, if I was a holding company and I was, like, looking to invest in somebody, I feel like that would be, like, interesting. Um,
That's a really good one. She is kind of like the perfect if I had to pick, like, a perfect creator for this, it would be her.
you still have to have that, like I feel like for a person, though, and again, she's still, like, an anonymous creator, but we know like, our understanding is that it's an individual, one person
Mhm.
doing it. You still have to have that, like, curated touch point, though, and I think that that's what's
Mhm.
interesting about Khaby Lame, like, he's literally relinquishing that, it seems like, through this.
Yeah.
Unless his, like, part of his agreement is that he is, like, part of the decision making and whatnot, but I
Mhm.
think that that's more of, like, what we're wondering. It's like, I don't know, like, how are they gonna use it? What are they gonna do? Um, so I also think it's, like, the creative partners that he's working with as well, like, you can imagine, like, a really cool execution or it also just, like, falling super flat.
Totally.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, and I'm interested to see, like, he does have a say, they say in the article, but, like, it'll be interesting to see, like, how careful he is about his brand or if, like, he's just like, "Whatever, I got I got my money, I don't like, do whatever, I don't really care." Um,
Yeah.
so kind of on a similar coin, talking about creators. This like was an impromptu topic that came up in our like prep call. But we were talking a lot about like the balancing of private and public life, specifically as a lifestyle creator. Um, and what kicked this conversation off was who or what Danielle Bernstein. If you're not familiar with her, if you're on Instagram and like have been for a while and care about fashion, you probably know who she is. But if not, she's kind of, I would say she's like an OG fashion Instagram content creator. She's been on the platform for however long I've been on Instagram, like when it first launched. Um, and she had a very public engagement and she was like very heavily like promoted. She threw like a huge engagement party that people thought was actually a wedding. And she was like very out there and outspoken about her relationship and being engaged and wedding planning. And over the weekend, or I think maybe Friday night, she posted an Instagram story, which is interesting, not to her feed. She posted a story announcing as Melissa said, a conscious uncoupling from her fiance. And in that statement, she pushed people to her Substack to like see her
It was
real
actually the
thoughts.
Substack. Just to correct Emma, it was the announcement happened, and then a couple days later, I think it went to the Substack. But
Okay.
yeah. Yeah. But
So she pushed people to her Substack for more details and like more of her personal thoughts on it. And the Substack, she didn't really get very personal in the Substack. The gist of her Substack was I know I've been like very out there with my relationship, but that hasn't worked for me in the past. And going forward, I'm going to be much more private about my relationships and personal life. And the reception to that on her Substack post, what seems to be very positive. Um, but it is interesting. Like, she's not the first creator we've seen who's very out there and like real with their audience about their real life and then making a pivot. So I want like, what do we think like about the balancing act that these creators have to do?
I think it's interesting too because on Substack, I feel like the vibe has very much been Tumblr core, like
Mhm.
share personal stories, and like more of like the emotional, sensitive stuff. So it's even interesting to me that she would like announce this on Instagram, which is like I feel like you mentioned her main platform, and then say like for a deep dive, go over to Substack, and that's where it's happening. I saw this on TikTok because that's where people were, talking about it amongst each other. Um, but I think your question about, navigating private public is something I've noticed a lot in terms of like creators saying that they're going to be more private, but then also like being very public with things because ultimately that is why people are following them. So it's like this weird tension between wanting more privacy, but also needing attention and eyeballs. And I think so much of it is like the historic uh kind of this is what's been happening and this is what people have been sharing. Like we talked about Aspen Ovard, and we know her as like for her relationship with her husband Parker, and like we followed them every step of the way, and then they got divorced and she was like, I'm not going to share any of this, and she got a lot of pushback for that. And Reddit was like ablaze because they felt like they had a right to know every single detail because they had known every single detail up until this point. And so I think there's this kind of interesting thing happening with lifestyle creators, especially women, especially when it comes to heterosexual relationships. And we saw the article, is having a boyfriend embarrassing, of like bringing in your relationship can be a boon for eyeballs and interest, especially around weddings. But if it doesn't all go perfectly, then it's also something that you have to kind of like attest for. And it's kind of like a hit to your brand and accountability there. Because I also think there's this kind of look back period that happens of like there was another influencer couple that broke up recently, Bryn and Mario. I don't know if you saw this on TikTok, Emma, because they were talking
Yeah.
about that. And then people were going back and like, she posted this 5 days before they broke up. What happened? And so that kind of hurts your credibility because it's like you need to always be presenting the relationship in the best light if this is your partner. But then once you break up, it's like, well, we've been having problems for a while. We just didn't show you guys. So it's a tricky situation that a lot of these, especially female lifestyle influencers, I feel like find themselves in right now, where like the audience wants to see these things, but at the end of the day, if they don't go perfectly, it might be a hit to their brand overall.
No, totally. I mean, I feel like it's like the same conundrum manifests with like reality TV stars too. Like I feel like a lot of like Bravo celebrities deal with this. um and it's like treading the line of like what role do you allow vulnerability to play like in your life, in your content, and like how much of a thick skin do you have to like weather it? I mean, even like Meghan Markle and Harry, it's like the same kind of thing. It's like every time they say they want more privacy, then they're like revealing something more private because that's what people are interested in. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's complicated. And I think if you were to talk to other lifestyle creators, like I think Tanks, I know we sort of touched on her in our like prep call, but like I think she has gone through sort of like a bunch of varied thoughts on this over time. And I don't know. Like, I don't think that there's like one, unfortunately, like straight answer. I think it's like, it's, it's like trying to figure out how to like get your, how to bring like that part to your audience in a certain part of vulnerability, but then also like make sure you like protect yourself from any sort of fallout. And also brand fallout too. Like I don't know. It's interesting. Like I wonder if there's anything that has to be undone for like the planned wedding for Danielle. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure that there were brand partnerships with that. I don't know. I have like a lot of varied thoughts on it. I will just say like personally, like can't imagine having lived like um my like whole dating and then marriage like publicly. Like I don't that just feels like exhausting and like incredibly draining. I don't know.
There was also another TikTok influencer couple recently, Christy and Desmond, where they broke up and the internet was very like, in the weeds on litigating who was in the right, who was in the wrong. But he had a brand deal that he had to post. And all of the comments on the brand deal were just about how could you cheat on Christy, da 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 da, like nothing about the brand. And like a few people who were creators were posting about this on Close Friends saying like, as a creator, I'm like stressed for him because this is going to hurt his relationship with this brand because they
Yeah.
don't need to be in the weeds on his relationship drama, and they had a campaign planned, and now they're getting this engagement on this post, but it's not the type of engagement they expected, and it has nothing to do with the brand, and his like personal drama has completely overshadowed this like product. And so it's like a very real liability that you take on because you can having relationship content, the internet loves it. Like it does so much better. But then, like I said, when things don't go perfectly, the internet then demands answers. And if you don't give it, like you will pay the price.
I mean, I've even seen it go the other way where it's like a creator will do something with a brand and then the brand is like not in the best light. like then, the mob
Yeah.
mentality like, goes after the creators' accounts too. I mean, I don't know.
And this goes back to Khaby where it's like this we're getting further and further removed from like even this happened in Hollywood recently with like Adeza Zion was attached to a script and then people were like, "Well, did you read like the source material? There's this issue with it." And then she was like, "I didn't know, guys. Thanks for telling me. I'm not doing this anymore." And so just this like idea that you're so, like, beholden to public opinion, but also we're moving towards a future where media can be made, like, without you. Like, she could be starring in a movie in a few years without even being there. So the movie could have gotten made, and then she would be like, "Well, I didn't know, sorry." But it's like, but that's your face and your body acting in that movie as far as we're concerned, the audience. So I think that, like, as much as it seems like it's not related, I think this is all very important to consider as we, like, go into this AI future of, like, how much of yourself do you want to share, because that's what you ultimately will have to sell one day to somebody, and
I mean,
yeah.
that is, like, the title of this. Like, how much of yourself are you willing to sell?
No, literally, though. And, another TikTok thing to bring up is, I don't remember his last I wanna say his name is Charles Gross, he's a Hermès luxury influencer, and
Yes.
he disappeared. He's the one who goes, "Let's talk about it," you know? And he came back with the video, and he was talking about why he left, and he basically was like, I, as being a creator, saw there's so much desperation in this industry and in the people who create in this space. And like for my
Yeah.
mental health, I just like didn't want to get caught up in the numbers and the metrics. And I've had similar feelings about all of this. Like I don't do paid stuff and like don't pursue that because I'm like, I would get caught up in all of that. But it is just a reality of the internet right now. And I thought his perspective was really interesting, and I think he's, in the luxury space, which makes me think he doesn't need to rely on this for money. So he was, like, able to put form some of these opinions that are a little bit more like, "How am I approaching this as art versus how am I approaching this as a living?" And he basically was like, "I wasn't willing to sell any part of myself, so I took a step back and took a break." And, I'm interested to see, like, how does he navigate this next era of creation now that he's, like, vehemently decided, like, I don't wanna just, like, follow the influencer path as laid out for me.
Oh my god, Megan,
Yeah.
you know what you just reminded me of? Actually, I saw, I don't know if it was an article or maybe it was like a TikTok, and it was actually analyzing Becca Bloom, and it was
Mhm.
sort of like the deceit of Becca Bloom, and I will say, like, I really like her content. I think it's interesting, and of all of her content, the stuff that always seems most interesting to me, besides like these like high level plates of food for her dog, um, but are her advice videos. Like she does these like in depth advice videos, and the creator or like the writer was speculating that the luxury element of her content was actually purely meant to like bait people into it, and that at the end of the day what she was really trying to do is like be an advice creator. And I was like, oh, that's so interesting. I mean, again, just take it for what it is, but like I do think that this like idea of luxury and like I think that that's like a very specific tactic that like certain people choose to do, certain creators choose to do.
Well, yeah, it's also just, like, the flashy thing, like, I don't know if you saw Tyra who, like, our problematic fave Tyra had there's documentary coming out about Top Model, and in the clip, she basically is, like, kinda saying, "Well, it's you guys' fault as the audience because you guys wanted this, and you were saying, 'We want more, we want more.'" So, basically, there's a lot of for those who don't know, there's a lot of, like, hindsight pushback on America's Next Top Model as being, like, psychologically and emotionally abusive, but I'm like, "This is reality TV." She was just early. Like, this is not anything that they're not doing today, they're just better about hiding how sinister and cruel it is, but it's, like, all the same stuff is happening. But in the clip, Tyra's like, "Well, you guys just kept wanting us to go further," and everyone's like, "I was 8, like, I wasn't asking for this." Like, and, like, even if I was, you should have told me no. But what my thing that I'm thinking about with all of this is, to me, the modern day Tyra is Mr. Beast, where he's got this captive audience of young people who, yeah, they're saying more, 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 but it's like, yeah, they're 12. So like, should they be able to like direct this really rich person in their creative decision making? So I'm really interested to see the America's Next Top Model documentary, and like, I mean, Tyra's producing it, so I don't think it's gonna be a full on, like, "Tyra, you need to take accountability for this." But I think it might be an interesting interrogation of the way that culture always demands us to go to extremes to, or not even demands, but rewards us for going to
Mhm.
extremes, and whether or not we are willing to, like, just say, "Yeah, let's go there," or if you're gonna take, like, a Charles path and be like, "I need to take a step back before I decide to go all the way."
This reminds me, Megan, since this was YouTube, you will probably know what I'm talking about. The YouTuber Elle Mills, who used to do like very highly personal vlogs on YouTube. This is like 7, 8 years ago. And she blew up. She had millions of followers. Her videos would get like at least 1 million views each. And they're very hyper personal. Like her family were all like characters in her videos. She came out on YouTube. She documented like her first kiss, going on dates, like highly, highly personal things. Um, and she was rewarded by it with followers and brand deals and the algorithm. And then she posted a video titled Burned Out at 19, where she basically said she couldn't keep up with it, like the demand of like a weekly video. And she would do like 10-minute long YouTube videos, some longer. And she basically said, I'm 19 years old and I'm completely burned out, like creatively and emotionally. And I think she took like maybe 6 months, 3 to 6 months off. And then she tried to like come back. And I think she maybe like did like 2 videos a month. Like she cut back a little bit. And I think that lasted for like a year. And then she like completely stopped posting. Now she like directs short form videos, short form movies. So she posts those to her YouTube channel. But like she tried for a year and then couldn't sustain it anymore.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know.
and
That like
you said some
creator life is like so glamorized, and I don't know why. It's so hard.
well,
Yeah.
because the hook is luxury. So,
The
like,
hook
I
is
think that
luxury.
that's a
Yes.
big that's a big part of it, you know? So, it seems like it's all great and dandy. Even I remember, like, there's always like, lifestyle girls always do the big haul as, like, a shoe-in to get a bunch of eyeballs. Like Michaela Noriega, she did that
Mhm.
as well. Like it's what garners people's eyeballs. So it's what they're going to continue to do. And I think that's kind of the interesting thing to think about, especially with these algorithms like changing on a dime. It's like you can't focus solely on chasing what the algorithm is rewarding today because that could all change in the next month and then you have no strategy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I even think like with hauls, I feel like people used to be like really into the hauls like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And now when I see them, it's people talk in the comments about overconsumption, like this feels very much in our current economic environment. Like to your point, audience sentiment shifts so fast.
Hmm.
And yeah, like what worked yesterday won't necessarily work tomorrow.
I also feel like that like chase of luxury just gets like it's like more and more complicated and nuanced and like I don't know. I feel like it has to cap out at some point. Again, like back to like Becca Bloom, like her haul will be like exclusive, one of a kind Van Cleef bracelet. And you're like, okay, I obviously want to see that. But like, how many, like, how much of that can you do? You know what I mean? Or like, um, yes, interesting, Ernest.
Interesting.
Audience taste shifts are often misread as algorithmic shifts. I mean, I also think, again, with the halls too, like, I feel like there's also like that sensationalism of like something new, something different, something like you haven't seen before, elements of that too. Or like I have the access that you don't have. I mean, I even see it in
I
my
also
favorite,
think
my food influencer space too. And they're like, look at this haul that I got while on a jet.
well, that's what I was gonna say. I think that like some types of content are evergreens. Like people love a haul. Even like think like before the internet, you would like go shopping with your mom and then come home and show your dad everything. Like that is a haul
Yeah.
video, you know? So it's like I think like it's like Ernest is right. Like audience, what they want to see shifts, and I think there was a while we wanted to see like, wow, you just spent a large amount of money on these things, and like that was exciting. And now that's read as consumerist and bad, but people still do want to see hauls of things. They just want to see them in ways that make them feel okay about themselves and their own consumerism. And like luxury for the sake of luxury, I feel like is not the way there yet. Like even what you were describing anymore, I should say, not yet. What you were describing with Becca was like taste. It was like, I want to see the one of a kind things Becca has picked out, less so like I want to see how much money Becca has spent. So I think like
That's
keeping
true.
up with what those like the nuances of those shifts and like what you're actually providing for the audience at the time is like super important. And I feel like that's what like Becca knows that. And like, I think that person who said she wants to give advice is so right. I think that's her goal, but she
Isn't
knows
that
like
like I know. It
it's like
kind of like blew my mind.
shiny diamonds and baubles, so, like, I'm gonna do that, but at the same time, I'm gonna get but it does work, like, even Alex Earle, that's her whole thing, like, she's used her luxury lifestyle to make us all care about her deeply, like, I don't follow Alex Earle that closely, and I was so happy for her that she got 2nd in Dancing with the Stars, and, like, I was like I knew about her breakup with Braxton just by virtue of being online and consistently showing up in that space and, like, using, I'm going to get ready and you're going to watch me like make myself look beautiful. But while I'm doing that, I'm going to tell you about myself, what's going on, my family problems. And that then over time endears you to Alex. And so, Emma, you brought up sustainability. And I think that's like what's important to consider in all of these lifestyle strategies is like, how is this sustainable for me as like a person long term? And I think scalability through AI is one way, like, that you could think about doing that, but it's not necessarily gonna work for the lifestyle creation space, I don't think.
You know what I was just gonna say? Actually, Megan, hearing you talk, it actually brought to mind another creator. Do you guys follow Pookie and Jet? It's like Campbell Huck.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say their last name. It's like Huckett.
Huck it.
Huckett.
Huck it.
Yeah. I actually think that they're a very interesting case study. Similarly though, like I think we're tracking this like it's like the luxury is like one element of like the bait that brings it in.
Mhm.
I mean, I think she's like interesting. She obviously like sells pajamas, like that's part of her like
Why does everybody sell pajamas now?
I know. Speaking of, I literally was on another call and I was like, oh, we wore what's Valentine's Day pajamas are now on sale. Like I'm like, Danielle, like honestly, like going through this breakup and everything, if you like have one of your most successful hauls, like go on, like good for you.
Yeah.
They're cute too. But yeah, everyone, it's like Valentine's Day just signals like pajamas. That's like what? um, but I think what's interesting about them is that part of their appeal is that they are like seemingly public facing with their relationship and like their love is like so forefront in their content. But
The internet,
he's
I
like,
will say it, is souring on
Mhm.
Pookie and Jet big time.
Really? Why? I'm just like so curious. What's the sour?
Yes. They're saying it's performative,
It's
because
performative.
I was
Okay.
gonna say, I think that, like, even like that, couples content, evergreen vertical, right? People love couples content, but I
Yeah.
think why Pookie and Jet popped off is because it was from the male perspective. Like we're very used to like women being like, "Oh my gosh, my boyfriend's the best. Look what he did." But he was just like, "Look at
Yeah,
Pookie. She's
adoring.
gorgeous. She's beautiful, blah blah blah." But
Also,
then now people are
I
like,
just want to say too, his voice. Like, I don't think you can discount his like accent and how he like his cadence of speaking. Like, it pulls you in. I'm sorry. Like, he should like
"Yeah,
narrate things.
yeah." Yeah. So I think that was kind of it's the wish fulfillment, of like having someone who just spoils you unconditionally. Like that's kind of what people are watching. But now that he's giving people the ick, he's ruined the wish fulfillment element of the brand because like you're like, I want this, but not from that guy. So that it's like kind of takes you out of it a little bit.
I no, also totally. Oh, that's so
think
funny.
that is really funny. I also think it's because they came, like, onto the scene as a pair. Like, she was obviously the star, but, like, he was in all of her content, and he was, like, often the cameraman or, like, the voice behind the camera, similar to, like, Aspen, Ovard, and Parker, like, as we were also, like it's interesting in a lot of, like, the lifestyle influencers that I follow, like, when their boyfriends are featured in content, people are like, "I'm not here for him."
Like,
Yeah.
I'm not interested in, like, what your boyfriend thinks about the new shoes you got. Um, so I think, like and one of the examples of that is, like, we were talking about in the pre-call, like, Hallie Kate, and, like, her audience doesn't like her boyfriend, and she's aware of that, and she has said, like, "I know you guys don't like him, so, like, I'm not gonna really he's not gonna really be a part of my content." Um She's, like, very transparent, and, like, I think she's a great example. She posts a lot of hauls, she's a fashion creator, but it leads with, like, her personality, and I feel like she is, like and self-awareness too, like, she exercises a lot of self-awareness, and she talks about, like, local New York City causes that, like, she cares about and, like, encourages her audience to volunteer, donate, all of those things. But yeah, and she just got engaged and basically was like, "You're not gonna be seeing a lot of, like, wedding engagement content
That's funny.
from me.
She's
I know
like,
you
"Don't
guys don't
worry."
wanna see that."
I would just say, getting back to, like, the top of this call when we this like, conversation topic when we were talking about Danielle Bernstein and, like, the fallout of her engagement and, like, the long form push to her Substack for her deeper thoughts. I do think that that's, like, interesting. It's not the first time we have seen that, like, Ariel Charnas did it. Hers was behind a paywall, though, which was also interesting. Um,
And
and I
even the
feel
whole,
like
like, Olivia Nuzzi, that whole drama playing out over Substack, like, that was, I feel like, similar in that it was like, if you wanna really be in the weeds on the drama, you have to go read our Substacks.
yeah, I would say, like, it's interesting to me because I feel like it's from, like, a digital strategy perspective, it feels like it's becoming clear what Substack's role is in a digital ecosystem, like, what is the why? Like, I know that, like, the founders always talk about it's, like, long form content the same way that, like, Instagram was a photo platform for real photographers, like, Substack is the writing platform for authors, you know what I mean? So some of it has it's just been sort of funny seeing it fall into, like, place, but it's interesting because I feel like when it comes to, like, cultural relevance, I'm like, "Oh, okay, like, this feels more like where it's landing," right? Where it's like, "Something has happened, you wanna hear my thoughts from me in written text, this is where you go." So I don't know. I just, like, take that away from this too when I think about, like, as we strategize with clients, like, Substack, why would you wanna be on there? What's the audience? What's, like how does it sort of fit into, like, all the other things that you're doing? Like, I just take note of moments like this and just find it to be really interesting, like, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
I
think
also
it's
do I do think what you said about, like, the Substack's place in the internet ecosystem is interesting because I also think that that's something that's becoming more ingrained in internet culture of people understanding, like, different platforms have different levels of nuance, and even just, like, a piece of content having more nuance that exists over on Substack, I feel like arms like, it kind of disarms some of the lack of nuance on other platforms because then
Mhm.
if there's a conversation happening over on TikTok that's really surface level, someone will be like, "Well, if you actually read her Substack, she said the XYZ." And then
100%.
you can't then continue to, like, come from this place of authority because there's more content out there that you have not consumed, and in order to keep your authority to have that hot take you have to go consume it or give it up. So I think,
Yeah.
like, even if not everybody is reading everything you write on Substack, the fact that, like, these more nuanced perspectives on Substack exist helps arm your audiences who are advocating for you as they're, like, talking about these things in the comment section and stuff like that.
I love that.
that's a really good segue into the final, like, quick little topic for today, which is Substack TV and how, users are excited, some are concerned and upset, that Substack is, like, very much expanding into video, and they're launching a TV app, so you can watch videos like this, lives and, like, short form content from your TV and not just your Substack app on your phone or your desktop. Um, so I think that's really interesting, and I also like Danielle Bernstein, an OG. Instagram creator pushing to her Substack for her breakup news, and like the weirdness with TikTok US that we talked about last week, where the algorithm got really funky. A lot of the creators I follow were pushing to their Substacks as like, if things get weird here, you can find me and my content on Substack. So I think like their push into video, which has been happening for a while now. You can just watch video on TV now, but is really interesting for like those creators who maybe not aren't interested in writing and aren't writers, but want to add more like nuance and have longer form conversations with their audiences.
Can I make like a random thought here? Like, I don't know if it's like a prediction, but like, could this be Substack setting itself up to be like purchased by Netflix?
Oh.
Like, with every platform like morphing into each other,
Mhm.
it's like, I feel like we always talk about like moving toward TV, moving toward, like you have, I think you have in here in the notes, like the reference of like Instagram trying to do
Yeah.
TV. Just like, what about like TV trying to be social? And like, again, I also think that what's interesting with Substack too is just like how it's like a place for like, again, long form written word. It's like books we've talked about with like, I don't want to get into it. We've had conversations with potential clients that I like probably should proprietary, but all of which to say it's like, I actually think it would be an interesting like complement to like an on-screen experience. And not to say like whatever, I just wanted to draw this parallel to like bring it up. Cause it's like something that came to mind.
I
I
think
mean,
that would be smart and strategic,
mhm.
but I don't think that that is what is happening just based on Substack's other moves. I think this is just every app wants to be every app, so they're like everybody else has video, we don't have
Yeah.
video, and I'm reading the introduction, the announcement of them saying that they're going to do this, and the way that they've laid this out, it's just so clearly that it's like this is good for us in our business to have this, so we've launched it. And no thought was given to like how this is going to land with the current super user on Substack because there's currently an anxiety in the journalism space about the push to video, and a lot of journalists have found refuge over on Substack and it championing the written word. And so for them to drop this, I think just feels like a huge betrayal to that audience. Like the highest comment is, please don't do this. This is not YouTube. Elevate the written word. And I think that there was a way to get into video in a way that felt like more on brand for Substack. And this just feels like, well, everybody else is doing it, so we got to do it too.
That's really interesting.
What is it, do you guys think that like, is it like, why does like Substack, Instagram, which I really don't get, like, why are they so focused on like getting on TVs? I know like YouTube,
Advertising.
it's like, that's it. You think?
Yeah.
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 I mean, also like,
Because I also think
yeah.
it's the metrics that you can measure. So, like, I think that there's lack of trust in the engagement metrics of like views and likes and comments and shares being like reliable indicators of okay, my ads being seen. But I feel like watch time, because it is so like people trust TV and they trust like I see commercials and like those are widely viewed. And so I think the watch time metric or like hours watched or like views metric is just much more appealing right now to advertisers than some of these other social media metrics. So they're leaning into videos because the thing is too, video scales so quickly. If you've ever had a video go viral and you look at the metrics and it gives you things like how many hours have been spent watching your video, you're like, a year of human life has been spent looking at my face. That's crazy, you know? So I think those metrics just feel more impressive and more like motivating to advertisers. And so that's why everybody is obsessed with video right now.
I mean, I also to plus one to that, I was also going to say like I think everyone is also recognizing that, um, like, the frontier of video still has space for, like, it's still, like, Wild West, right? Like, again, we've talked about Quibi,
Yeah.
we've talked about, like, short form documentaries, we've talked about, like, the convergence of, like, even, like, books and, like, the literary world kind of turning into video too. So it feels like there's still this, like, it hasn't been, like, tapped yet. Sorry, I'm hearing feedback, as I'm talking, but, like, I think that, like, again, it feels still like the Wild West where, like, gold can be, like, discovered with it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Especially when things are always so up in the air with TikTok. Like, when you think about it, for the last, like, 4 years, we've been like, "Well, TikTok could go away, like, at any moment,
Mhm.
every year." So I think there's kind of also this, like, well, if TikTok goes away, those people need to go somewhere, feeling that's everyone's like,
Yeah.
"Well, just in case, we should make sure we're ready to catch some of these users."
I was also, you know what? 100%, like, that's a really great, um, observation too, Megan, and another thought too is that, like, if we're to, like, position and think about, like, okay, what's next? Like, we talk about AI, my favorite book of all time, Ready Player One. We talk about gaming, we talk about, like, Roblox and all of that. Like, so, like, I think that if a brand is being, like, really forward thinking about, like, what are the next, like, 10 steps, I feel like video is, like, a step in there. Like, I just don't know where, it's like, do you go from, like, a written word, like, newsletter into, like, a, gamified avatar situation? I don't know, but, like, video feels like the next normal step to that, where it's like, okay, you get your audience engaged with video, and then it can, like, evolve from there. It's just, like, something else that comes to mind for me.
Interesting. Okay, guys. Well, this was a long conversation. Um, really fun though, and kind of like impromptu. Um, but thank you guys so much for joining us. As always, we will be posting this on Substack for you to view back at your leisure whenever you want to. And yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us, and we will see you next week.
Thank
Bye, guys.
you. Bye.
Bye.